Good afternoon, Muttonistas. Behind me is Seville's cathedral, one of the largest in Europe. Now, as everywhere in Spain, Seville does look after its architecture very well, and it is all stunning, to the point where just the other side of the camera in front of me, we have the Alcazar, the old Moorish fort. You can see a whole stack of documentaries, films, travelogues about the cathedral and the Alcazar. I'm here, as usual, on Mutton Tours, to take you on a tapas crawl. So today we're going to do an epic tapas crawl of Seville and the old town. So Muttonistas, it is of great credit again to the people throughout the ages, because don't forget, this part of Spain would have been in Moorish hands for a lot longer than places further north, that neither side knocked down the other's buildings, particularly religious buildings. So what you have in the centre of Seville is just this stunning panorama of old historical buildings, and new ones which are built in a tasteful traditional Spanish style. But because we're here for the food, we're going to have a wander down some of those narrow alleys. Now these alleys are absolutely crammed with great tapas bars. I've researched a few of them, and there are some that I've been to before, but unlike that mad one we had in Triana the other day where I wasn't sure whether I was going to have to leave the city quickly, this is going to be a more leisurely affair, a one-session affair. And I'll go to the places I've planned to go to, but if I pass by some that I don't know, but I like the look of, I may well give them a try as well. So let's get cracking, put lips to glass and fork to mouth. So my first stop is the legendary Casa Morales. They do the most wonderful things and have a wide collection of sherries. It's tapas heaven. So I'm kicking off the evening with boquerones en vinagre, which is white anchovies in vinegar. One of my favourite ways to start the evening, this is I love the vinegary flavour with the smooth but non-salty anchovies, and the perfect match, Manzanilla sherry. I could have this every day. Simple dish, prepared well, ton of flavour, bit of tomato, bit of olive oil, Bob's your uncle. So we'll devour this and move on. So I must confess, it took me quite a while to find the place. Even though I was here just before all the current health issues started, I couldn't remember everywhere and where to go, so I had to get my phone out. Anyway, we got there eventually, and it was so good to be able to stand. And something I must add when you come to Seville, unless you have like a hit list of places that you've researched, it's easy to get a bit lost here, and it's easy to occasionally choose bad places, but there are very few of them, and even places that in most cities you'd call tourist traps are not too bad here. It's just that some are better than others. And also, some of these places, they have all the history like the Casa Morales with all the old wooden panelling and so on and so forth, but some of the best food can be found in some of the more modern establishments. Don't be put off by a modern exterior. So the next place I'm going to try in the middle of town, in fact in the middle of the old town, is La Bartola. Now, so many places I've tried to go to are shut that it's a bit of a punt, but my senses tell me that it's going to be good. And as you might be able to see, there are lots of people actually sat in the little square here, although these motorcyclists are real pests with their constant revving up. So something I've said a lot of times is that Spain is actually very strong on fusion, particularly Japanese and Spanish fusion. You can find it all over the place, and so don't be frightened of that. You don't have to have the really old traditional things, although most of the things one does have and I have here are traditional. And here I've gone for salmon tataki. Now tataki is a style of very, very lightly cooking, mainly fish but sometimes pork or beef, so that it's seared on the outside and rare or raw in the middle. So let's see how well they've done this one. And salmon is one I don't normally have. Oh, by it, that's gorgeous, as they say in Manchester. That is really good. The beetroot mayonnaise really does sharpen it up as well. And to add to the sort of Japanese flavours, there's a little bit of grated radish and cucumber. Is that pickled? No, just lightly cooked cucumber, but the beetroot mayonnaise adds enough of a vinegary flavour to it. This is a lucky find and a good choice. Sometimes judgment can get you a long way. I've paired this with my go-to white wine in Spain, Albarino. This dish is definitely deserving of a quick slurp. I'll just hold up another piece so you can see exactly what rare means. So it should be close to raw in the middle. So I'll polish that off, and because it's such a hot day, this rather big bottle of water, and we will move on. I'm quite thrilled about the dish I've just found here. So we're on our way to our third stop, and I just thought I'd better point out a local landmark. It's called the Setas de Seville, which is the mushrooms of Seville. Now if you, well, I'll try and let you look up with me here. So what we have here is a big architectural structure in the middle of the city, shaped like a bunch of wild mushrooms. So after our little architectural treat under the mushrooms, we found our next place, the Patio San Eloy, a place I bumped into by accident in February 2020. I hope it's not changed, and to be honest, if the food's not good, you won't be seeing it in the films. So I've gone for a very simple plate of jamon iberico. This area is famous for it. We'll see whether this place cuts it well and has a good quality product. And I've decided to pair it with Fino sherry, the bone dry sherry. Everybody's told me that that's the thing to pair it with, even though usually I would have red wine. So let's see how it goes. And as always, rich streaks of fat, which is very, very important. It's probably not Iberico if you don't have the fat. And of course, don't be put off by it either, because it is delicious. Good ham. Now, does it go well with the sherry? That's the question here. Surprisingly well. Well, I suppose the experts have to be right sometimes. And you'll find this in every bar in Spain, usually, a leg of ham. If you're not sure what to have, it's always a good choice. So, that was a very simple tapa in, you know, a very nice and pleasant place. Their other food is reasonable as well, I've had it before. Very atmospheric bar though, so if you want a bit of hustle and bustle, shouting from the kitchen to the bar and so on and so forth, it's a very good traditional place. Now, on to the next place. And finally, a very old and traditional place in the Plaza Alfalfa called La Bodega. Let's hope they have a table and they're still open, because I've really wanted to eat here and it's been full so often. So I'm thinking very early or very late. I'm here very late, so let's hope I can still get a table and eat some meat, which we haven't had much on this tour so far. So I managed to get in. It's not easy to get in here. It's 11:30 and it's absolutely packed. I mean, it really is busy and noisy in here. I mean, wow, I love it at this time of night how you can still go into packed places. So the first dish is here. It is tuna belly with peppers in paprika and olive oil and basil. I really like tuna belly. They've done it rare for me as requested, so I'm delighted to have this in front of me because I don't get it that often. When you see ventresca on a Spanish menu, it usually means bonito, which is albacore white tuna, and it's served in tomato in a salad. It's pretty nice, but it's not a patch on the real thing. Real tuna belly, cooked rare. Fantastic. Oh. It's basically like eating fatty tuna, rare, like in a tartare, sashimi, or even a carpaccio. And because of the rest of the dishes I'm having, I've paired it with a Ribera del Duero Reserva, which is possibly a little heavy for tuna, but red fish, salmon and tuna, you can have them with red wine. Although usually a lighter one than this. And just to illustrate, folks, in Spain, when they say rare, they mean rare, which is just the way I like it. None of this business of sending it back here, it's always done at the correct point. This is melt-in-the-mouth stuff, it really is. Not only deserves a quick slurp, but also a trip to the refilling station. So, next dish, carriadas de cerdo cooked in sherry. These are pork cheeks, which are quite big things, and they're very soft and tender. They're slow cooked, usually in sweet wine, but the cooking burns off most of the sweetness. Served with a few sautéed potatoes, quite a fatty cut as well. So, here we are, the potatoes obscuring it a little bit. Wow, again, incredibly tender and tasty that is. The refill has arrived. We've not quite fully recharged. And it goes without saying. Now, whilst red fish, which by the way, you should never cook red fish very much, salmon, tuna, that sort of thing, can go with a lighter red wine like a Pinot Noir. This sort of red wine like Ribera del Duero is made for dishes like this, really. And of course you can find these slow cooked dishes all over Spain. They are easily available in any decent tapas bar, and sizes anything from a tapa to a half ration, media ration, or a full plate. I like to go for the smallest possible plate to try a lot of things, but if you're in a group of people, then maybe you want bigger plates so everybody can have a couple of mouthfuls. That's if you're in a group of people who don't want their own dish all the time, of course. Whoa, look at that. I'll get on with this, then the final dish to come. And actually, before we get on to that dish, I can't stress enough how well Spain excels at cooking fatty cuts of meat. They know exactly what they're doing. So if you see one on the menu in Spain, always go for it. And we have some foie in Pedro Jimenez and balsamic vinegar with a bit of salad. It's like a foie on toast. Now, I normally would have liked this to come first, but because the kitchen was about to close, things came in a strange order, but I'm going to enjoy this anyway. Beautifully cooked again. They always seem to know exactly how long to cook it, so that the foie has lost its hardness but isn't as soft as jelly either. It's as if it's just turned from being a firm piece of liver into a soft, juicy, pan-fried, gooey delicacy. And I have to say, this is the business. So next time you have foie or foie gras, whatever you want to call it, consider a Spanish sherry to go with it. Not the dry ones, the off-dry ones, not the ridiculously sweet ones either. So there we are, folks. It all turned out nice again in the end, and I was so glad I could get into that place. So many times I'd passed it by now and in years gone past and couldn't get a table because it is that popular. And the food was really good. I had to rush it a little bit, unfortunately, but I'd strongly recommend that place, and it was pretty cheap as well. So that was a much lighter one-session event than the slightly mad day a few days ago in Triana. But all those places, I'll leave the information about their names and websites, if they have websites, in the description box. Anyway, I'm going to leave you here. I'll see you on the next one. Please remember to like, share and subscribe as always. And don't forget, you can't beat a bit of mutton.